My name is Zainab Hamid, and I created this podcast to bring voice to the parts of us that have long been silenced, the parts that question, feel deeply, and desire something more meaningful from life. This is a space where healing conversations are born, not rehearsed, a space where emotional honesty matters more than perfection. Whether it's through story, reflection, or raw, unfiltered truth, my hope is that every episode reminds you of your own inner wisdom and your right to feel, to question, and to grow. In this space, there's no need to be polished. You don't have to know all the answers. You just have to be willing to awaken, even if it's one layer at a time. Because healing isn't a destination, it's a return to self, a return to what was always there before the world told us otherwise. Welcome to the journey and welcome to Awaken. I have a beautiful discussion today that I wanted to bring up. Something that I made a huge mission. It's one of my biggest missions in life. And it's a goal of mine that I hope to achieve fairly soon. So it's really just a call in action to bring more awareness towards the curriculums that are currently held in our school systems and currently and that there's really nothing that's teaching our children emotional regulation. There's nothing in that's teaching our kids how to, thank you so much. There's nothing that in our curriculums that's teaching our kids how to handle stress, how to get them really ready for the other side of the world, like the adulthood, the responsibilities, the stress, all of those things, beautiful things, right? That's where we build character as human beings. And that's where they need to know how to facilitate through their emotions, right? So I am somebody that really learned through the hardships in life. Like I learned those all those things were challenges for me because I learned those hard way. Thank you so much. I learned those in a way where, if I was taught how to emotionally regulate myself when I was in high school, I wouldn't have to go through all of those things the way that I did, right? They still would have happened, but I would have been able to navigate myself through those hardships, in a better and more healthy way, right? Because how many times have we made decisions out of anger? How many times did we react to things so quickly, right? When we could have reacted in a different way and actually found a solution to a problem, right? Because there's no solution that was ever made through anger. But yet it's one of the biggest reactions we have to any kind of heightened emotion. So if you have a heightened emotion and your first reaction is to feel anger or to throw something or to be disruptive or to have an attitude or to whatever the case may be, then you need to learn how to emotionally regulate yourself. So this is something that I have been working on for a very long time, because I'm literally the blueprint of this. I went through maybe a good year and a half of really doing the internal work of sifting through my pain, sifting through the things that I've been through, sifting through the hardships that I didn't have a choice but to endure. And that's the whole thing. It's the first step is really choosing to acknowledge that it wasn't your fault, right? You went through certain things in life that you had no other choice but to go through, because that's just the cards that you were dealt. And we have so many occurrences where we self-blame or we self-sabotage or we do all those things not even knowing that we're doing them, right? Because a big, huge thing about emotional regulation is to have self-awareness, to have the awareness and to acknowledge the awareness. and this is something I've been writing about since yesterday, really, is the difference between awareness and acknowledgement, right? So if you really think about it, which I'm going to go back up into my notes. If you really think about it, awareness is when you feel something, like when you're feeling a feeling, like you're aware of it, you're aware of something. And acknowledgement is actually saying it out loud. For example, let's say it's raining outside, right? You're aware that it's raining outside, right? But your acknowledgement is that it's sunny. That's what we do with our emotions, right? Let's say you have something, you're raining internally, like you're going through a catastrophe inside in your heart and your feelings and your mind. It's catastrophic. You can't handle it. You can't whatever. But on the outside, it's sunny. So eventually what happens if you can't emotionally regulate yourself to what you're going to do is you're going to go through your anger. You're going to go through or an addiction or something to release whatever you're feeling on the inside. Okay? So instead of acknowledging that you're raining on the inside, that there's something going on the inside, you're aware there's something going on, but it's not, you haven't acknowledged it yet. And that's where the choice comes in. To make the choice every single day. To make the choice every single day that I am going to acknowledge my pain. Okay? I'm aware of it. I'm going to acknowledge it, and I'm going to sift through it, and I'm going to feel it and actually learn a healthy way on how to react to your heightened emotion. Okay, and this is why it's so important for children to learn this before they go into college. The high stress of college. I know college is like every week there's a different huge test. There's homework, there's assignments, there's stresses. And that's not even talking about when they get into the workforce, into corporations, into having bosses and having co-workers and having all of those things. And then they have a family and all these things. And can you imagine not being able to emotionally regulate yourself in all of these circumstances in life? Yeah, I can imagine it because I went through it. And if I was able, and I'm going to say one thing on this journey, it's a journey that's lifelong, right? You always have to be doing work on yourself or there's no growth, right? So, but I'm at a point where if I am going through stress, or if I am going through, hi Alice, or if I am going through some kind of something, right? I know how, like a trigger. If I am going through something that's known like as a trigger or something like this, I'm going to understand I'm going to have a routine on how I'm going to react to that trigger. I'm going to have something for almost every single trigger I've discovered about myself. I have a routine of how I am going to facilitate myself through it in a healthy way, in a way that's not harming me or anybody around me. Okay? So that's what emotional regulation is. Is not burying the feeling, right? It's not burying it with or excuses. It's not burying it with anger. It's not burying it with manipulation, right? Because we can manipulate ourselves, okay, into thinking something else. Like you're raining on the inside, but you're telling yourself it's sunny. That's manipulating yourself, right? We can do that. We are capable of that. And so that's what emotional regulation is to acknowledge that I'm not feeling my best right now, right? And to have a healthy routine. A healthy routine is something that's for you. Like, try not to add anybody into that healthy routine. Try to make it about you and how you're going to get yourself through this. Like, don't make your healthy routine something that you're going to call somebody and talk to them about it, even though that might be, but that should be something you do after you emotionally regulate yourself. Okay? So this is why it's so important to have awareness, and also not just awareness, because awareness, you can have awareness but not acknowledge what you're going through. Okay, so you have to also be able to acknowledge and make the choice that I'm gonna do something different this time, right? I'm gonna do something different this time. I'm not gonna ignore my feelings. I'm gonna feel my feelings. I'm gonna feel what I need to feel in this moment. I'm going to, how do you get to that point in life? You have to acknowledge what you're feeling, and you have to have some kind of, journal. You know what I mean? This is my life's work. This is something I love talking about. So it's like, have a coach or have a therapist that's going to help you come up with why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Okay. And to have self-awareness too, to know yourself to a certain degree where you understand yourself, right? And you understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. Yeah, I just answered. I answered it. So how do you get to that point in life is really, it's making the choice every day to learn something about yourself, to learn how you're going to move forward, to actually feel what you're feeling, to actually feel the emotions that you need to feel in that moment. Okay? And to understand that it's okay. It's not your fault what happened. It's not your, it's a reaction. It's something that's very normal. We're not perfect human beings. And so I believe one simple thing, that there's a reason why we all go through the things that we go through in life. And the last thing that I went through that was catastrophic emotionally pushed me to really internalize and do the work, right? It pushed me. It's like God pushes you on the edge to say, what are you going to do now? Where so when he pushes you to the edge, there's either you're going to ignore your feelings or you're going to feel your feelings. Most people choose to ignore their feelings by running to an addiction, running to an attachment, running to something that's going to make them temporarily happy, instead of doing the work, which is going to be eternally happy with your own self, right? Which is going to make you feel, which is going to bring you to a point where you don't need anybody else. You want people in your life, absolutely, but you don't need anybody, okay? Once you do the work, you're able to really count on your intuition, count on your instinct, count on yourself. And that's something we all want. We all need that. I think the best thing in life is to be so internally at peace. And so, of course, you're going to go through rough things in life, or you're going to go through, sometimes you're triggered and you have to feel your emotions for a little bit and all those things. Yeah, but your peace stays. Your peace doesn't go away. Your peace is the routine that you choose to have when those things happen. So when you do have a bad day, your peace doesn't go away. And that's what doing the work means, is that yeah, you might have a few moments where you're just not okay, and you just have to deal with, you have something heavy that you're thinking about, or you have something that you're really going through that's painful. Yeah, we all have those moments. We all have those feelings. We all have those internal things that we have to sift through and understand. Once you acknowledge and you understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, you can change it. You can enhance it. You could make it where it doesn't exist anymore, because you acknowledged it, and you called it a name. You gave it a name. You gave it something. You gave it life. So you're able to heal it now, if that makes sense. So That's the whole point of this curriculum. It's so important for our kids to be able to understand that whatever they're feeling it's valid, and we feel and we see it and we hear it. And it's important for them to have that validation. To have that validation that it's very normal how you feel. It's not something that's bad. It's not something, I do have kids. It's not something that's harmful. You having a bad day or having a bad reaction to something, as long as you're not hurting anyone and not hurting yourself, you should have somebody to go talk to about it. Or you should go to God and talk to God about it, or whatever your circumstance is, whatever you choose as your healthy routine. That's something that you have to come up with on your own, because everybody has their own way of dealing with things, their own way of sifting through things. And so I absolutely do. So there's a technique that I use with my kids. But I have two young kids. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. And I started doing this with my oldest son. As soon as I started learning all about this stuff, I started really, trying to teach him, but with my two little ones, I started doing this routine every single night. And I can't tell you how much it's helped. And they don't even know what I'm doing, but because it's something normal for them now. So every single night when I tell them to put them down for bed, they tell me a story, and I'll make up a story on the spot of what they did during that day, right? Like a self-reflection for themselves, like about them. So I'll make the story like, very animatic, very funny, very whatever, if they did something wrong that day, or if they, were disrespectful that day, I'll bring it up and in a funny, playful way. And now, like, it really makes me so happy, because I look at it like now they just do it on their own. They're self-reflecting. I taught them to self-reflect, and they don't even know that it's self-reflection. You know what I mean? And it's just like they're able to hold themselves accountable for when they do something wrong. Like that really taught them at 3 years old and 5 years old to be. No. See, that's the thing is when somebody's showing their emotions, they're automatically labeled as being dramatic or being sensitive. When in actuality, that's a little bit of a label there. That's an assumption, and it's not. It's their feelings. It's what they feel in that moment. It's valid. It's not them being sensitive. It's not them being dramatic. It's them wanting to be heard and wanting to be understood. And that's the thing is I come. Now, I'm not a perfect parent. Absolutely not. But I am very, very cautious on how they feel about certain things. I let them feel their emotions. I tell them that I understand what you're feeling, and I give them the reassurance that they are okay in that moment. It's very important to not say that they're sensitive or dramatic. It's to make them feel heard and help them facilitate through their emotions. Yeah. Now, if they're having a whole tantrum over why they can't buy a toy at Target or something like that, that's a different story. That's you understanding that they want that toy, but sticking to your word when you say no. That's discipline. That's being able to in a healthy way show them that you can't have everything that you want, but I still love you, and I still see you, and I still care about you. You understand? So it's a tricky it's a tricky way, and I'm not an expert in parenting or anything like that. Anything that I'm not an expert. I'm talking about my personal struggles and my personal what I do personally with my children. You know what I mean? What I seen that works. What I seen that makes a difference in their emotional health. No, it's not. It's not considered a tantrum. Is a tantrum. A tantrum is just their heightened emotion, and they have to just learn how to self-soothe, right? This is where self-soothing comes in, which is like a bullet point to emotional regulation. So to self-soothe, I will get down to their level and be like, okay, are you done now? If they're not done, I let them feel it. I let them continue. I literally had this occurrence happen this morning with my daughter. And she had a fit because I took them somewhere and they weren't, following like the rules over there. And I told them before we went there, I told them if they didn't follow the rules over there, or if they gave the teacher a hard time, that I wasn't going to take them swimming today. And so, I got a complaint and I got a call, and I told them, okay, we're not going to go swimming today because I told you guys X, Y, and Z. And then my daughter had a whole tantrum in the car, and I told her, I'm sorry, but I already told you. I told you this was going to happen if you didn't follow the directions of the teacher. And I got her to relax a little bit. I talked her through it, and then she was fine. She was, after like 10 minutes, we talked about it. I talked to her about it, and I told her, I understand that you're upset. I'm going to give you another chance tomorrow. So when you're with your teacher, make sure you listen to her and you're not disrespectful. And so I gave her a chance. I gave her the chance to redeem herself. The same thing. Like if you just have to know your child enough to know what works, and you have to make sure their emotions are heard and understood in that moment. So, yeah. So, yeah. Did I go to school? I'm a life coach. I'm a certified life coach in the moment. I am still training. I'm in progress. Thank you. I'm in progress right now. I'm a life coach. And they get their certification. So I would love to thank you guys all for coming in. Yes, it is a degree. It absolutely is. I'm still training for it. So I am a certified life coach. Thank you all for coming in. If you'd like a one-on-one appointment, make sure you send me a DM. And I hope to see you all next time. Have a good day.